False promises. Nemesis is a figure from Greek mythology. She is the ruthless goddess of righteous revenge, but also of equality. Nemesis is the daughter of the night, and she obeys Zeus. The name Nemesis means handing out the deserved punishment. I would like to conclude the topic of spirituality with my vision and opinion on religion. If you are religious, I will give you a hard time. It's time for the truth to be outed. As a shaman, I am very aware of the laws in the afterlife. It has struck me that people with religion receive absolutely no preferential treatment. This is already a hint that religion has little value in the afterlife. It also applies the other way around. You don't have to be religious to get to heaven. What bothers me even more is the fact that these religions all claim to bring you closer to God. They promise you a good final judgment, and no one can promise you the latter. Every person is responsible for their own thoughts and actions. You can dedicate your whole life to Jesus, but if you choose to kill and condemn other people, you can pray until you weigh an ounce, you will simply remain behind on earth. As you can see, religion makes all kinds of heavy promises that it cannot keep. Yet, it becomes even more painful. In the past, I have often been misled by false information. Since then, I have always been very focused on where the story all began. I am interested in the origins, and from there I will find my way. The problem I experience is that the Christian and Catholic faith is based on people who claim to have come into contact with God. For example, Moses committed murder and claims to have spoken to God shortly afterward. My experience says that this personal meeting has been completely impossible, as the gods do not speak any language. In short, religion is based on figures who have presented themselves as the representatives of God. If they had been in contact, they would have referred you to the existing Trinity without vague language, which is a very unique feature. There is no religion in the world that has noticed this aspect correctly, except Germanic mythology, which no longer exists. When it comes to my assessment of Christianity and the Catholic Church, we are in an immediate state of war. As I have already stated, I am a pure serpent bearer. I would discover that Christianity purposefully erased me from history in the year 1100 AD, just like the knowledge of Germanic mythology. I no longer have a right to exist, and yet here I am. Christianity and the Catholic Church are even completely corrupted. The fact is that Jesus and Mary simply did not exist before the year 1100 AD. It is all one big lie. In short, our era cannot possibly be based on the birth of Jesus. So the question is, who started the era? It is time we look at the source, where it all started. I am no expert in Roman legends, yet it is clear to me that Julius Caesar was the founder of the Roman Empire. He was especially praised for his strategic skills and wisdom. What I discovered is that this Julius Caesar seemed to have a real obsession with time. For example, he invented the Julian calendar, from which we do not deviate much today. It is also clear that he invented the 12 months, and got a month named after himself, the month of July. However, Julius Caesar was assassinated 44 years before the start of the new era, so he wasn't the one who put it all into effect. It was his heiress Emperor Augustus, who tried to restore Julius his honor. While doing so, Augustus also named a month after himself. It was his successor, Emperor Augustus, who restored Julius to honor, and who introduced the start of the new era. As you can see, the true story is not based on the birth of Jesus at all. Constantine the Great. Around the year 300 AD, we are again confronted with a remarkable figure. His name is Constantine the Great. He would also play a very decisive role in the following story. In this period, the Romans were obsessed about having the ultimate power. They wanted to stand above the gods. However, they noted that they did not have the ultimate power. The problem that arose was that there were many religions, each with their own gods. The fact was that the people were more afraid of the judgment of God than of the judgment of the Roman emperor. The Roman Empire decided to go to war with religion by starting two religions of their own. It becomes very clear that Constantine the Great suffered from a god complex. He was the first sole ruler of the Eastern Roman Empire. He thought he was the chosen one. Around the year 330 AD, he claimed to be the Son of God. Instead of fighting against religion, he decided to start a religion in his own name, and in the name of his mother Helena. He wanted to be worshipped as a god. Yet, both religions did not last long. The people were not crazy, and did not want to worship Constantine or his mother. The people stuck to their own gods. Both religions died out approximately 150 years after. The first striking thing about the year 1100 AD is that the Eastern Roman Empire dominated Europe. The history of that period is completely unknown. Many important sources and documents were destroyed. In 200 years of time, our true past has been erased and has been replaced by a lie. I would discover that the original Roman Empire came to its end when it was defeated by a Germanic emperor in the year 476 AD. You understand that the hatred towards the Germanic tribes was enormous, especially when you realize how proud the Romans were of themselves. In return, many centuries later, they erased Germanic mythology from its existence. So what exactly did the Eastern Roman Empire do around the year 1100 AD? It becomes clear to me that they revived some old ideas to honor their heroes. It is clear that this empire was completely obsessive about Constantine, even many centuries after his death. They have perpetuated his god complex. In the Eastern Roman Empire, he was a great idol next to Julius Caesar. The Eastern Roman Empire made a second attempt at starting two religions, but this time they went to great lengths to first destroy all incriminating material. Constantine was replaced by Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and Helena was transformed into Mary. Note this very important fact: before that time, the year 1100 AD, Jesus and Mary did not exist. Both figures were brought to life from scratch, which means they are completely fictional. All stories that exist about Jesus were created in the Middle Ages and after. The story of the birth of Jesus Christ seems to contain a hint who it is actually all about. It was Julius Caesar who came up with the idea of time. He already wanted to start a new era. How coincidental must it be that Julius Caesar and Jesus Christ both have the same initials? We are dealing here with Romans, who are extremely proud of themselves. Why would the Romans worship a Jew instead of someone from their own ranks? They have consciously adopted an identity that can never be traced back to the Eastern Roman Empire. What is also striking is that the Eastern Roman Empire transferred its power to the Vatican shortly afterwards. Many people do not realize this, but the Vatican has been the most powerful body in the world for a very long time. They also learned from their previous mistake. They realized that people did not convert voluntarily, so anyone who resisted was given the death penalty. In short, converting to Christianity and the Catholic Church was never done by free will, it was done under brute force. They have made people afraid that they would be condemned to a fiery hell if they did not convert to their God. Today, people voluntarily convert because they simply don't know any better. It is shameful that many have turned a blind eye towards this dark history. It indicates that the corrupted lie of the Romans was successfully executed. In my eyes, the Eastern Roman Empire still lives on, in the form of Christianity and the Catholic Church. They are still the same group of rulers, under a different name and logo. The power now lies within the Vatican, although their actual power has diminished considerably in recent centuries. The Pope has become nothing more but an ancient symbol. As I mentioned, they have falsified history by cutting off all paths that lead to God. By the Romans, it was all about having the ultimate power. It's all about dominating human thoughts. Astrology was banned, and the Serpent Bearer was erased from existence. When it comes to the Catholic Church and Christianity, the intention from day one has been to deceive everyone. Their goal has never been to bring you closer to the gods. In fact, they do the exact opposite. They made people worship the devil. I am slowly starting to get why Christianity hated the Serpent Bearer so much. I am the one who can undo their evil. Babylon. Not everything is right in Judaism either. I know the Jews consisted of several tribes, who all worshipped different gods. Some of them openly worshipped the devil. I have to be very clear, I don't have anything against Jews. Still, I am aware of some dark stories considering the Jews. What is a fact, that in those times, the Jews were barbarians and far from civilized. I would discover that part of Jewish faith is based on stories that are a complete lie. For example, the story about Moses, is completely falsely fabricated by multiple writers. Anyone who studies this story will find that there have been several writers, who over time have all incorporated their own will and opinion into that story. The best example of this is circumcision. The story surrounding this phenomenon is insane, as this story claims that Moses, his wife, is above the will of God. She threatened God and told God what to do, and God apparently listened to her demands. As you can see, is that this story is crazy. Let me also be very clear, circumcising your genitals does not bring you closer to God, you idiots. I would also go back to the origins of the Jews, and discovered the story about Babylon. The Jews were a bunch of barbarians and were known to commit genocide against Egyptian tribes. The stories in the Bible are proof of this behavior. Everything that lived was killed, including children and livestock, except young female virgins. These were sacrificed later. There was a time the Jews were held captive in Babylon. Babylon was a center where many of the world's cultures and religions came together. The Tower of Babylon was a ziggurat, which is an elevation in the shape of a plateau, on which a high tower was then built. However, the Tower of Babylon would collapse during a very heavy storm. The Jews, who were in captivity at that time, began to worship a new god named YHWH. YHWH is a name that you pronounce as if you inhale briefly, and then exhale strongly. You symbolically blow down the tower. This god, YHWH, is completely dominated by chaos, death, and destruction. In Babylon, his name was forbidden, and the Jews decided to address him only in the form of a title, and his title was the Lord. The Bible itself consists of many fragmented stories. Nothing is complete. It happens that the story of Adam and Eve comes from a far older culture, named the Sumerians. The true story makes way more sense than the biblical version. What is even more strange is that the entire Christian Bible does not say a word about God. Not a single word has been written about God's true identity. What is very remarkable is that this book is written in the name of the Lord. The fact is that he doesn't get addressed by his name, but with a title, just like the god of destruction YHWH. In short, the Bible is written in name of the devil, not God. My conclusion is that many people have presented themselves as the representative of God, but completely fail to describe the gods accurately. No prophet comes closer to the story I tell, and I do not consider myself a prophet. As you can see, Christianity and the Catholic Church both are completely corrupted to its deepest roots. Not only do they worship Roman idols, they banned astrology, which is the only way to reach spirituality. So, they deliberately disconnected the only road to God. It gets even worse once you realize that they made people worship the devil. As you can see, everything they did was to disrespect God. It is all pure blasphemy of the highest degree. My message to Christians and people who are Catholic: start using your common sense. Many claim to be Christian, but it happens to be that I know more about Jesus than the average Joe. It proves that many of you have never read the Bible. You are all being loyal to something you don't know. It might be advisable for everyone to start using their common sense and stop hiding behind excuses. My advice would be to worship the Holy Trinity. Just start over with everything. My knowledge offers you that opportunity. Learn astrology and discover numerology. Learn what spirituality truly means. In this book, I have completely exposed the identity of the gods. I made things really easy for you. There are simply no excuses left. Who is the devil? I have discussed the gods and their identity, yet there is also the concept of the devil. The story goes that a right hand of the gods began to claim power for herself. She wanted to be as powerful as the gods. To me, this hints that the devil has been a representative of the gods, and the only zodiac sign known to represent the gods is Gemini. The devil is a zodiac sign that has gone rebellious. She was therefore banished from the realm of the gods. In German mythology, she is known as Hel, and in Sumerian terms, she is known as Lilith. What do I think is actually going on? The fact is that a heavenly paradise exists. The afterlife indicates that you reach this dimension by entering a portal. The word portal is used specifically by the dead. The universe also consists of extremes. This means, if one exists, then the other also exists. If there is a heavenly paradise in the name of Odin, then there is also a dimension that is all about chaos, negativity, and destruction in the name of hell. The afterlife on Earth indicates that multiple hells exist. The presence of demons indicates this. Hell is a dimension consisting of pure chaos. I suspect that you experience hell as a very bad dream that has no end. What I know is that the gods consist of different constellations. I think I know what actually happened. A twin of the Gemini has gone rogue for itself and taken on the role of being the pure evil counterpart. It is rebellious and does not recognize the power of the gods. The devil also has several characteristics. The Gemini is part of the god Odin and represents the number 3. What is very striking is that this Gemini is fighting a battle against the Serpent Bearer. That's not all. The devil has an obsession with the zodiac sign Virgo. Consider the characteristic of sacrificing female virgins. In short, we are dealing with a 3-6-9 combination here. It is Gemini, 3, opposite Serpent Bearer, 9, and there is a battle for Virgo, 6. Hell battles against Odin. For a long time, I accused one of the gods of being the devil. For a long time, I thought it was Fae because he came up with the true test. My life always hung on a thin line. Yet, I was completely wrong, and I have come to realize that the answer partly lies within myself. The devil is the zodiac sign of Gemini, in its worst sense. I am too, to some extent, a very bad Gemini, yet it is true that there is a security hidden within me. The only energy capable of taming the devil is the Serpent Bearer. My Serpent Bearer controls my Gemini, and actually brings out the positive aspect of the devil. A hint at this is that Thor, Gemini, as a child, was raised by 2 lightning spirits, the Serpent Bearer. The story refers to a sacred combination. Thor represents destruction in a positive aspect. However, a thunder without counterbalance from a Serpent Bearer is the sign of pure misery. I bring the thunder in its positive form. By focusing purely on what actually deserves to be demolished, I leave what works alone. I always strive for the truth, and that's all I care about. In Germanic mythology, there is the story between Odin and Hel. Both personalities respect each other, and are therefore not inferior to each other. Now that I know that the devil was a representative of the thunder and lightning gods, a lot has become clear to me. Odin and Hel represent each other's counterpart. They are twins. One creates life, and the other does everything she can to destroy it. Hel is known for being able to predict the future. Odin used to contact her for advice. This is a very important fact. Here also lies the hint of her psychic ability. It is water that gives the gift of clairvoyance. In my eyes, this can only mean one thing. Hel is the subtype of Gemini/Cancer. This deserves some explanation. When I first came into contact with astrology, I met a writer who in turn divided each zodiac sign into 3 parts. We have 2 transitional periods and a pure period. The Gemini zodiac sign consists of the subtype Gemini/Taurus, the pure Gemini, and the Gemini/Cancer. I am a Gemini/Taurus type. I find myself on the border of the transition phase. Hel represents Gemini/Cancer. Hel is very ruthless, jealous, and manipulative. The Gemini energy allows her to change shape. She can change identities. As a Gemini, she has the natural ability to become one with another body. Like me, Hel represents as Gemini 2 gifts. As Gemini/Taurus, I represent clairsentience, air, and claircognizance, earth. Hel represents clairsentience, air, and clairvoyance, water. As you can see, everything falls into place. Hel can take over people's bodies, and she can predict the future. It is known that spirits often have an obsession with the number 3, as it refers to the zodiac sign of Gemini. The relationship with Virgo also becomes obvious. The stamp that the devil has received is the master number 666. It again refers to a hidden obsession towards Virgo or young female virgins. Now that I have discussed the identity of the devil, it is time for something else. I want to share with you some discoveries I have made, based on the Serpent Bearer and older cultures. I would like to show the connection towards the pure Serpent Bearer and the number 369. I will also discuss my experience with an UFO, and what taste it left in my mouth. These things, I discovered, could be something, or maybe nothing at all. I let you decide.